Well, I'm off to New York City today. I got my little suitcase packed. I'm taking the train down, Amtrak. Amtrak in America, for those of you who don't live here, is always questionable. But I'm going to a retreat that I am going to try to bring you to. It's the Catherine Hastings. It's her wax stamp retreat. But I have to say, I have planned far less for this trip than any trip I've ever done before. This is short, definitely. I have a beautiful hotel, which I will show you. But other than that, I have no idea what I'm doing. It might just be dinner, in-room dining in a beautiful hotel room. And that might be exactly what I need right now. So come with me. Let's go check it out. Okay, on the train finally. As you can see, I'm on the Amtrak train. I'll give you a little peek down the row. Um, that's what it looks like. Nothing spectacular, um, but comfortable. Certainly not a European train, but it will get me to New York City in about 3.5 hours. So, see you once we're in NYC.
Well, this weekend really was centered around something completely different from anything I've ever done. A wax seal and stamping retreat put on by Catherine Hastings, and I will put her link down below. It was in this little rented space called Flawless House in Tribeca, in the Tribeca area of New York City. Now, I have never been to Tribeca before, or at least I didn't think I had. But I have to say, after arriving at the hotel, I started to walk around the neighborhood and realized that I was very close to the financial district. And as I was walking, it was like I was time traveling all the way back to the days of graduating from college when I came to New York and I interviewed with companies like Brown Brothers and Harriman, Merrill Lynch, Solomon Brothers. These are companies, most of them other than Merrill Lynch, don't exist anymore. I could feel myself tensing up. It was like I was that terrified young girl, young woman, once again, my little navy blue suit. We all remember those days. And I actually felt like I needed to give myself a hug. Believe it or not, it was so incredibly overwhelming. I even stopped off in a little church to light a candle for my loved ones because it was like I needed to pull myself together. But honestly, I was ready to bolt. I even looked to see if there was a train back to Boston, like midday or right after the first day, because I thought, oh my God, this is not going to be good. Why did I sign up for this? What was I thinking? I don't even know Catherine Hastings, in a wax seal workshop. Sounded totally crazy because I'm not creative, I'm not artsy, I'm not crafty. But I said to myself, Sharri, just do it. And I am so glad I did, truly. I'll tell you more about it in a minute. But first, I want to show you my hotel room. Okay, I am in New York for my Catherine Hastings wax seal workshop, and I am in one of Kit Kemp's New York hotels, which I thought I needed to show you. It's so pretty. Actually, I believe they built this hotel, if you can believe it. It's crazy, isn't it? Look at the windows. Really fascinating. And we got a little bit of iconic New York across the street. Very cool building there and an old building over there. So, yeah, I am in Tribeca. I am in the Warren Street Hotel. And yeah, it's all great. And you'll see me in the, hello, in the mirror. This is something that I do because I drink Nespresso, and I absolutely love it. I will request a Nespresso coffee pot in the room, which is great. And Kit Kemp just does great welcomes, if you want to call it that. They always give you a little gift when you come in,
which I think is so sweet. And just so you know, the bathrooms, whether you're in London or you're in New York, are spectacular. They just are. Great big huge shower. This one doesn't have a bathtub, which is fine by me. I don't usually use hotel bathtubs. So anyways, here we are. So here I am at the Warren Street Hotel in New York City. My wax retreat begins in about 2 hours, I believe. But I'm sharing this with you because this is the lazy trip. This is the laziest trip I think I have ever done, and I'm loving it. As I said, I'm in the Warren Street Hotel, which is in Tribeca in New York City. I can't say I love the area. I went out for a walk yesterday, but it is what it is, right? That's life. But I'm at one of Kit Kemp's hotels, and I have to say, she gives you these little things like, look at this. Look at this lovely little notepad. And each of her hotels has a different symbol on the top of the notepad. And if you're like me, some people take shampoos and conditioners. Not me. I take notepads and pencils. So yeah, I have an assortment of these in my home. They also always leave you a gift, which is the coolest thing in the world. And this time I got one of her little notebooks, and I think that's such a sweet thing to do. This is her, I think it's made by Spode. It's called Tall Trees. And so there's a whole China pattern like this, which is beautiful, tall trees. But look at this. It's a beautiful, beautiful gold edged. I absolutely love it. So this is going to be my notebook for the retreat. And they ask you what newspaper you want, Financial Times. In this case, it was Financial Times, New York Times, or the Wall Street Journal. And I, of course, had to get the Financial Times, which I absolutely adore. And over here, you will see my room service, which is so, so lovely. I've got my English breakfast tea, some sourdough bread, and that's kind of it because the workshop has things that they are going to be laying out. I think we have lunch today, something like that. I'm so excited. So anyways, but here I am in the raw. I thought this would fit, actually give you a better idea of what lazy travel, calm travel looks like. Yeah, it's 10 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, and here I am with my Velcro rollers in and a bathrobe on. And quite frankly, I'm going to take my time because that's what I think midlife is all about, that we don't rush. We don't say, oh gosh, I'm going to New York City. I've got to check, 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 check. In my case, I go to New York City to relax. And I think we can do that wherever we are. So anyways, all for now. More later on the workshop or the retreat. Well, once again, it's one of Kit Kemp's hotels. As you all know, I love Kit Kemp's hotels in London, and I chose it. She has, I think, 3 hotels now in New York City, and I chose it because I knew that I needed to feel as comfortable as possible, as at home as possible. And this trip was stress-inducing, and I find, and you probably do too, that when we stay in the same hotel groups over and over, it can almost feel like home. It feels familiar. We feel safe, whether it's the bedding or the bathroom products, whatever it might be. That reduces stress. And the older I get,
Traveling solo is actually more stressful, believe it or not. So anything that reduces a stress level is good. Now to the workshop. I have to share, the moment that I walked into that space, I could feel the shift. It was the loveliest group of women. And Catherine Hastings is an incredible gal. She is so kind, so talented, so open, and so generous with her knowledge, with her skill level, with her time, with her products, and what all she has learned. It was a true privilege to have met her, to spend 2 days with her and with the rest of the group, I have to say. Now, to do the wax seals, you have to let go of everything. You have to slow down and focus on what's right in front of you. You know, you're working with your hands. If you don't know what a wax seal looks like, there's a perfect example. I think you can see it. Maybe not. There you go. Um, sort of. It's kind of hard to show it on camera. You know, you've got a small little container that's where you put a candle. I'm going to show you. This is something that you use. The candle goes underneath. You put your spoon on the top, and you're mixing colors. So you're working with heat, you're working with wax, and it's all about timing. And that's why you have to pay attention because you can't rush it. The stamps, as an example, have to go on just perfectly. I'm going to try to show you, like, this is one of my favorites. It's a chinoiserie that's a two-step, two-color, and very hard to do. And I loved that. Here's another one. This one has little flowers inside of it and then stamped on top of it, which is very cool. This one has, I know you can't see any of this because they are so detailed, but it's got the gold around it's actually a gold mica that is actually throughout it. And I might have to videotape that separate so that you can see it all. But when we got together as a group at the end, I thought this was so incredible that my internal lesson from the 2 days that I was there is that, you know, in our next chapter, sometimes we have to try something. Sometimes we have to sign up for something that, we have to shut off our rational mind because in the moment we are driven to do it. At the very end, we had to share with the group what we received from the experience. And I shared that signing up for this retreat was completely out of my usual behavior. I didn't know who Catherine Hastings was. I just loved her emails. And truly sign up for them. If you like beautiful things and you want to take your time learning how to do something, they're beautiful, wonderful, well-written emails. And she shared with me one-on-one, we were talking about business, about how her open rate for her emails is incredibly high. And I'm not surprised because I open every one of her emails and I read them. So, yes, did I want to bolt? Of course I did. It was uncomfortable. But once the retreat began, I found my center, sitting there working with the wax. I think this was one of my first ones, the fleur de lis, of course. I found the calmness that I think I was desperately needing. And inside that calmness was an appreciation of beauty that I think was very simple, but yet it's lovely. And I can't wait to do more of it when I get home. What I realized is that our next chapters are really about balance because I think our next chapters, unique to maybe our group, our age group, our generation, is that we're being pulled in multiple different directions. We're the sandwich generation. We've got older parents. We've got adult children who need help. We've got grandchildren, maybe. So we're pulled in a lot of different directions, and we need time, though, to just for ourselves, time to settle ourselves and time to relax and turn off everything and everyone who's asking something of us. Now, I didn't get to film much of me actually doing the wax seals, partially because we were all together and it really would have, I think, intruded in the space. But also, it takes two hands to do a wax seal. You've got, your little spoon, you've got your heater, the whole, there's a lot going on. And so consequently, I just could not film. So I'll try to show you a little bit of what was going on in the room during the retreat.
Okay, I went to New York City, as you can tell, for a wax seal and stamping workshop, and it was put on by Catherine Hastings. It was incredible. Now, I'm not an artist, I'm not a crafter, I'm none of those things, but I loved it. And it took me out of my comfort zone. I'm going to share later in the video what this workshop actually did for me. I could not record at the actual event, so I thought I would try a little sample of this at home. And you can see this is all purchasable, if that's the right word, on Amazon. I've got my little wax. You use a toothpick to mix up your little wax colors if you want to do a multicolor. We're talking basic stuff here. We're talking toothpicks, paper towel, that sort of thing. But, okay, so you're going to pour your wax onto your little silicone and wipe your wax off. Just set it on your paper towel and then use a stamp. These are called itus. See if I can get it right. The actual end of the stamp is called a penny, which is kind of interesting. Et2 is the handle. Some are very old, which I've shown you on some of the pictures. Once you press it down, you can just kind of leave it to cool. These are the most fascinating things that I have ever played around with. If you're somebody who likes history, the history of seals goes all the way back to 930 AD, if you can believe it. It's actually used in the Old Testament. If those of you who read the Bible or are Jewish, you know what the whole story of Jezebel was, and she actually used a counterfeit seal. But it was also used thereafter by kings and governments and whatnot. And the first great seal of England was that of Edward the Confessor, which is fascinating. So you buy them like this. Catherine Hastings also sells some that are absolutely beautiful. They're expensive, but they're beautiful and they will last forever. This is just a plain old little candle. These you can all purchase everything basically on Amazon if you so wish. The wax can come long like this. Sometimes they're in tubes or cylinders, I should say, rather than squares. Or you can purchase them like this. I happen to get some of those. These are very hard to cut, and the one thing Catherine shared is use a garden shear, and you can easily cut these off. You can cut them with a knife, but actually your hands will get tired. On the backs of the seals, because you might say, oh gosh, Sherry, do I have to put it right on the envelope, right away? No, you don't. 3M sells these little sticky things. You put them on the back of the seal, actually, after it cools, and then you stick it to the paper so that you're not putting anything on the paper that isn't exactly how you want it, which I think is beautiful. Okay, I think you can pick it up, kind of see if it's cool enough. I'm going to pull my stamp off, and you can see that mine is an S. And like I said, I'm not perfect at this. You see how it's missing that whole side? What I would do in this case is I would take it off, and you can do this, put my little spoon back in, and I am going to melt it again because I didn't like that. I missed half of it. You want to make sure all of these little pieces get in. Woo! As I create a catastrophe. This is normal. This is normal me when I'm working with crafts. So, which I think is maybe normal all of us, right? So remelt the wax, and we're going to do that again so you can get an idea. It might need to have a little bit more wax. It might have been short. I'm going to try a different green, add a different green in. If you're using these little pieces, which is what you would cut off of here, you need 3 to 4. When Catherine did it, this was actually filled with wax. She's very comfortable working, obviously, with wax and comfortable with the amounts that you would put in, which I thought was fascinating because I was like trying to be so incredibly careful. All of these, the colors have symbols. Look at this one, it's swans. This is one of Catherine's. These are called pennies. The bottom, if I didn't say that, are called pennies. This is one of Catherine's. I thought the swan was so beautiful because in Boston we have swan boats, and you can paint on top of them after your wax is dry. This is one that I couldn't throw away even though it's not perfect. I just thought it was so, so beautiful. Again, here's tulips. Wonderful. This was something that was done with a little different process so that you get that, how do I want to say, almost transparency. So let's see how we're doing here. We're almost there. You can smush it around and then it will melt a little faster. Very easy. The one thing is if your wax starts to smoke, it's too hot. And so you need to cool it down a little bit, pull it off the heat. And I think we are ready. Good Lord, look at that. Looks like a marbling effect, right? Okay, so let's put our wax here again. And you kind of want to lay out your wax similar to the stamp that you're putting in the middle, or you're using, I should say. I think I'm going to use the S once again because I think that's so beautiful. Much better. I'm pressing down, and now I'm going to let it cool. And I can't show you this because I don't have the tool, but you can see some little bubbles over here. Catherine uses not a match, but something that actually, a lighter, a automatic lighter, and she just heats this up and all those bubbles go away, which is incredible. Oh, this was one of my favorite processes, and this is a 2-step process. Isn't that just beautiful? And then here's one I'll show you where we learn to put flowers inside and then stamp on top of it and then paint, and use the same kind of paint that you would use on models, like if car models, little teeny car models. So anyways, let's see how my stamp is doing. It's still a little warm, so you want to check that. Okay, let's see what it looks like. See how it comes right off? And you can kind of touch it. There. Much better. See my little S? My initial? Isn't that wonderful? I hope you enjoyed.
There was something about the rhythm of doing these wax seals. You had to heat the wax and then pour the wax and then press the seal and patiently wait for the seal to cool. It was slow. It was repetitive. It was quiet. No one was rushing. No one was trying to be perfect. Every single woman had a kind of a different process, a different result. And, one day was 12 to 5 and the other day was 10 to 5. It wasn't a lengthy experience, but for a few hours, I was thinking of nothing else. And I think that the benefit of that wasn't really realized by me until I was on the train going home. But at the very end, and this actually was a turning point for me in recognizing the value of doing things that we love to do. We don't have to be good at them. They don't have to produce anything. This was not, about what I could make and sell or what I could make and show. It was just for me. And at the very end of the workshop or the retreat, Catherine had us go around the room and share what the experience meant to us. And one woman started speaking, and then she began to cry. And she shared that her life at home, she had come all the way from Austin, Texas to New York City, but she shared that her life at home is spent caring for her parents. Her father's going blind, and her mother has dementia. And she said, for the first time in a long time, she had done something just for herself. And I have to say, the room went completely quiet. It was a beautiful moment, and all of us, of course, supported her and appreciated her for her vulnerability. But on the train ride home, I could not stop thinking about what she said. And it caused me to think about my own life. My daughter is going through a very difficult chapter. She's a single mom to 6 children. And without realizing it, her life has started to take over my life in a very stressful way. And I have felt it in my body. The stress and even some health issues have started to crop up, which is interesting. But what I realized was that in those hours, the whatever it was, 10 hours, whatever the case may have been, I realized something very, very simple. And that was that I wasn't feeling the stress. I left that retreat so calm, not because anything in my life had changed, not because I had stepped into like another life that allowed me to kind of put everything down, but it made me think because for that short time period, I actually did put aside the rest of the things in my life. It made me think, how often do we do this? How often do we allow ourselves that exercise, that experience, that activity to put aside what is causing a whole lot of stress for yourself? So, we are used to asking ourselves, oh, what am I making? Is this productive? Is this worth it? What is this going to lead to? But this had no purpose, no measurable outcome. And yet it gave me a gift that I didn't even realize I needed. That calm mind, a calmness within my body, a moment or many moments that were just mine. So this retreat wasn't just about wax seals. It was about remembering that even in a full and complicated life, you're still allowed to have moments that belong only to you. If it's been a while since you've done something just for yourself, this might be your reminder. And if you want to go a little deeper into this kind of a conversation, I write about this every week on Substack. And inside the salon, inside a Substack, we take it even further. I'll leave that information below. But thank you everyone for coming with me on this little trip. A biento.